Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Sweet Lavender Knits podcast. My name is Christine and I'm coming to you from just outside of Toronto in Canada, Ontario. I thank you and I welcome you for joining me today in my knit night, and hope you'll grab your needles, a project and something nice to drink and join me for the rest of the episode. Thank you again and welcome to all my new viewers as well as any returning viewers. I welcome you and thank you for coming back for more. Today is April the 1st and a happy Easter to all of you. It's been a very busy weekend for us, and I hope you had a wonderful weekend as well. You'll probably be watching this at the end of the day or maybe Monday morning, depending on how long it takes me to upload the video. But I do want to welcome you and I thank you very much. You can find me on Instagram as sweet_lavender1 and on Ravelry as sweetlavender1. I'll put those on the screen for you, as well as we have a nice lovely group of knitters and crafters, crocheters, and I believe some that like quilting as well, on Ravelry, and we are called Sweet Lavender Knits on there, so you can find us on Ravelry, and do come by, join in the group for a bit of chatter. We have a chatter thread called Let's Chat that you can join in at any time. Just share whatever is on your mind, whatever you're crafting on, and I love seeing all of your pictures and you know, just knowing what you're up to, and that's really where this the interaction takes place for our knit night. So I'm very happy about it, and I really love that there's so many of you joining in and sharing. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. What else? If you see me glancing down, it's because I have my notebook precariously leaned against the tripod, and hopefully it's a very scary looking setup today, and the reason being is it's sort of a gloomy day. I'm trying to get the maximum light and hopefully it won't be too dark for you guys. I'm not quite sure what you can see until I play back, and yes, so we'll just go with it. But yes, that's the reason I'm glancing down here. And yes, so for you who are new, just to let you know that this podcast is mainly about knitting, and really it's my knit night, and I don't have one to go to very close by, and so this is my way of joining in a knit night, and it's with all of you. And I do love a lot of crafts, but I get around to knitting most often, and some crocheting, some sewing when you know, when I do find time, although it's constantly on my mind. It's just finding the time is very difficult. And I have been you know, dream quilting in my mind constantly. It's just a matter again of sitting at the sewing machine and getting to it. So yes, those are some of the things that I enjoy. I've never said this before, but if you follow me on Instagram, and if you have ever, you know, I wouldn't know why you would want to do that, but if you went back and looked at some of my older posts, I have a spinning wheel, and it's been so long since I've actually sat at the wheel and spun anything. So I do have some spinning under my belt, but nothing that I've done recently, so I've never really mentioned it. But yes, that is something, and maybe if you are a spinner, you can, you know, get me interested in it again. Why not? Right? All it takes is a little bit of talk, and then I want to do everything. Is it like that for you guys? I don't know. It is for me, only if I had the time. Well, what else? So let's see what's on the calendar. We have the end of a March giveaway, and I will be announcing the winner just a little later in the episode, and so stick around for that. You'd want to hear, especially if you've entered in for the March giveaway. And there is going to be a new cow. So for those of you who have been with me since the beginning of this journey of podcasting, we did one cal, and it was a short one in February, and so this would be our second cal, but this is going to be a little longer. I'm calling it the Let's Knit cal. So it's going to be knitting, and not to exclude any of the other crafts, but I think most of us are knitters, and so there's always something on the needles, and we can keep it to knitting. So if you feel that you are being excluded, please do let me know, and then we'll keep the name, and we'll probably change the rules or something, because I don't want to exclude anybody. But yes, I thought it would be mainly about knitting, so we'll keep it as Let's Knit. It's the Let's Knit cal. It's going to be starting on April the 15th, and I'll get to that date a little later in the podcast as well, why I had to choose April the 15th. Well, I'll tell you very briefly. It's because I was too late for this one. And also because there is another cal that I want to join in, and that starts on the 15th. So I thought we'd just coincide it to the same date, and that way we're all on the same page. Yes, so it's starting April 15th, and it's going to go on for 3 months. So that'll take us into our summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. And for all of you ladies out in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to take you into your winter. So I'm looking to have larger knits for this cal, whether it be blankets, sweaters, like larger shawls, no shawlettes, but something that'll take you a little bit of time. If you're a fast knitter and you can get 2 or 3 things done in that month, or in that time frame rather, then go for it. And please do post your finished objects in the FO thread when I do set it up. I haven't set up any of these threads yet. There will be a chatter thread, and I'll probably do that right after the podcast, or maybe a day. Give me a day sometimes. And I'll set up a chatter thread where you want to post what you're planning to knit, and you know, any pattern suggestions or things like that. I know what I want in it. So I'm going to be knitting my Zweig sweater, and there is a cal going on Woolberry Fiber Co.'s Bethany's podcast or group, Ravelry group, and it's just for the Zweig, and I do want to join into that one, and she's starting on April the 15th. So I have to hold my horses till then, and you know, I've done a little bit of the, you know, preparation and all of that. I've mentioned it to you guys, so that's going to be my entry for that cal, and I thought that way I can knit along with you guys for this cal as well. So yes, go ahead, double dipping, triple dipping. Works in progress, I would say if you're not 50% there, then you can put in those whips. But if you're 50% or more, then maybe not this one. Just because I want you to be able to knit with us. If you think, if it's a very large project and 3 months is not enough, then yeah, I would say you're not at 50%, so you can join in with the whip. Yeah, I think I've mentioned everything about the cal. As far as prizes now, I have not come up with anything yet, but I'm thinking we'll do 2 prizes, one for the FO thread and one for the chatter thread, because a lot of you do like to join in with the chatter, but like me, may not get something done in 3 months. And you know, you still want to be eligible for the prizes, and I do enjoy the interaction a lot, as you probably figured out by now. So yes, so one for the chatter thread and one for the FO thread. But as for what the prizes are, I have not determined that as yet. So just a shout out, and if you are a maker and if you want to showcase your makes, do get in touch with me if you're willing to donate a prize for the cal. And if not, you know, I will definitely come up with some prizes. But yes, this is a chance for you to show off what you make as well. All right, so those are my items on the calendar for this time. And I feel like I'm talking too fast. I hope, I don't want it to feel rushed, but I do want to try and get some of the stuff I'm doing. So let's get to it. I'm just going to take a sip of water. And then I remember to show off this cup. This is a lovely cup I got in Dublin on our visit last summer. And you know, I wanted to capture all of Ireland, and I know that's a very broad statement, but I really, really enjoyed our time there. And it is such a beautiful city, a beautiful country. The people are so nice, and they were so welcoming to us as visitors, and I just loved our stay there. So obviously we had to go into a souvenir shop, and I thought what better way to capture it, because I love tea, so I just wanted a cup to have my tea in. All right, so you are here for the knitting. I realize that. Okay. As far as finished objects, now you'd think it's been 2 weeks since I last podcasted that I would have something to show you. Unfortunately, no, not entirely, but I do have a half finished object, and that is this sock. It has been on the needles since the beginning of January. And the reason being, well, I have not been knitting it constantly, so it did not take me 3 months to knit a pair, you know, like a sock. It's just that I ran into a little bit of a hitch, and so I had to put it down for a bit, and now I think I'm happy with the way it turned out. So the pattern I will start off saying is the Vittori Socks for Men, and I will put up the designer's name on the screen. And it's a lovely pattern where it has these 3 diagonal stripes going up the foot, and then the pattern changed. It changed to 3x1 ribbing, and I ended it with a 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. So, and I did a fish lips kiss heel, and yes, the sock itself is the first time I'm knitting socks for my 17-year-old son who has quite large feet. And so the sock itself took me a long time to knit. Because of this little cable detail. They ask you to use a cable needle, but I was using a DPN. It worked out fine. So when I knit just above the heel, after the heel, and I knit about 1.5 inches maybe, and I got my son to try it on, and the foot fit perfect, and he loves the fit of the foot. But there was more than 1 inch of fabric on the top of his ankle, so it was just too big, and it would have, if I tried to knit up the socks, it would have just sagged down, and it would have been too loose for him. So I kind of got disappointed with that, and thank you for those that did help me out and give your suggestions. I did a post on Instagram asking what could be done with it, and a lot of you did say that ribbing, using a ribbed pattern would help it. So what I did is I ribbed back to the heel and picked up the stitches again, and then I continued in 3x1 rib all the way around, and where I got to the pattern, I wanted to continue that as much as I could, so because it stopped just like right there in the middle, right? So I wanted to take it at least to the end. And so where the stitches came, where I had to do the cable, the cable took predominance over the 3x1 ribbing, so I was able to maintain that. I wanted to go all the way around and across like the pattern calls for, where it's going across like that and comes all the way around here, but my son did not want a very long leg to the sock, and so I didn't want to, and this was quite an effort to, you know, do the cable as well as the ribbing for me, and I just at this point wanted to finish the sock. because I was a little keen on knowing if it'll work or not. So I got him to try on the socks at 3 intervals while I was knitting it, the last being just before we got to the ribbing. And he liked the length, so then I told him, okay, I'm going to be doing an 1.5 inches of ribbing and off cuff, and it didn't make any difference to him really. He was like, oh, I like the foot, it feels so comfy. So I'm happy that he loves it, but I'm a little sad that I could not follow the pattern to its entirety. But this works out. So now it fits him very, very well, and it's a very, you can see that the foot is a lot broader, and then the leg is a lot narrower, especially at the ankle, and it fits him much better. It holds up at the cuff, and I ended it with I don't know what it's called, but it's a little bit of a stretchy bind off where you do 2 stitches, you knit 2 stitches or knit and purl 2 stitches depending on where you are in the ribbing, and then you knit through the back loops together of the 2 that you've just knit. I'm not sure what it's called, but I like that for a cuff, because it gives it a nice stretchy cuff and not too much of a flare. There is still a little bit of a flare, but I'm hoping that it'll block out just a little bit maybe. I haven't not blocked or weaved in any ends on this one. So I got him to try it on, he liked it, and I did not knit the socks consecutively or concurrently, and so I have the other sock to knit. So I'm going to get to it right now. Right now, as in today, I'm going to be casting on actually for two socks. So this is the first. I knitted on 2.25 Chiagu on a 40 inch cable, and it works out really well. I love the Chiagus, and I'm sure you guys have heard me say that. So yes, that was my work in progress that I was able to, and you know, to be honest, ripping back and then knitting up the foot and the cuff and completing the sock, it took me about 2 hours yesterday, and that's what I did. But I was happy because it was working out, and then I could show you a half-finished object. So there is the first whip and the finished object, I guess, in my bag here. All right, on to the next one is my Sorrento shawl by Marsha Ibuki, and I have it in this bag. It may be like a lunch bag, but it's fabric and it's very soft, and it's got a square bottom, and I like it for larger projects. I've used this bag a lot, and yes, it's not a fancy project bag, but it works for me. So I've shown you this shawl before, and I have yarn going all over the place, so just bear with me. It's a nice shawl with some lace, some garter stitches, and this is my main color, or color 1 actually, not main, but color 1. Then it goes into this peachy pink here. So this is they're all 3 from Wool Barn, and Maya's yarns is so simple, so subtle, and I just love the colors that she comes up with. So this is fawn, and the peachy pink one is ballet slipper, and then I'm on to the third color, color 3, and this is blush, and you can see it's got some very subtle speckling of the pink and the neutral in there, not neutral, brown, yeah, in there. So it's really nice, and this is as far as I've gotten now. And now I have, after this section, I have about 2 more sections, and then the picot bind off right at the end. So hopefully I'll have that finished to show you the next time. It's not looking very pretty right now. It's got yarn going all around, and seriously, you can tell I'm not good at showing you these things, but there. Yeah, And you know what? I didn't mention it, but I'm wearing the Across the Pond shawl by Mina Phillips of the Knitting Expect podcast, and I love this shawl. Um, and I do want to knit it again. Not for myself, for my mom, because she likes larger shawls, and I don't know too many out there. So if you guys know of those large shawls, but I'm not too fond of triangular shawls because maybe I don't know how to wear them properly. So I did make her one, and she wasn't too fond of it either. So I like the crescent shape. I like the half pie or the half circle. And this is one that was a very, very interesting knit. Like I enjoyed all of it, the body as well as the edging. And I would want to make it again. So that's my second whip. And my third one is not really a work in progress. It is more just to share something with you. So the next thing I've been doing is preparing for the Zweig Cal, or you know, just to knit the sweater really. And I wanted to swatch, so I got that done and out of the way. I swatched out of the main color, the main color of the body of the sweater, which is going to be out of Cozy Posy Yarn Co. and Tanella's Etsy shop. It's one of her yarns, and it's called Sweater Weather. I love the colors on that yarn. It's beautiful, beautiful. And if you want to see me showing them the yarns off, I believe it was episode 7. So check it out. Here is a little swatch of that I did, and this is the third one I did. And I got gauge. I finally did get gauge, and it's on 3.5 millimeters, and I'm using these needles that are KA, and they're not very popular, but I brought the set to show you. This is my first interchangeable set of needles that I got, and they were my proper knitting needles for a long time. It is by Emi Berry, and I believe they're a Japanese company, and they call KA needles, and they have a whole set of, oops, I'm losing my needles. Okay, there we go, retrieved. Okay, I should have held it up like this. These, and they've got these brass tips to them. I have to say the brass, like, it's been over 8-9 years now I've had these needles, and the brass is starting to wear out. So I'm sure if I used a little bit of polish, it might shine up again. But the needles are fantastic. What I'm not fond of with the set is are the cable. The cable is like fishing wire. It's a little thicker than that, but it's very, very fragile, I think. And I know that from using it as magic loop, and I ended up breaking off the cable. The cable itself bent so many times, and I think I used a smaller cable than I should have, and so it wore out the cable. And so then you can buy just the cable from them, and yeah, but other than, like, I like the needles. The needles are very nice. They're wooden. They're not very sharp, so if you're looking for like lace knitting, it's not ideal because they are a little blunt, but they're very, very comfortable, and they're 4-inch tips, so they're the shorter tips, and they work very well to knit. So I got wooden needles just because I find it a little more easy on the hands when I'm knitting a lot. But since then I did switch over to metal needles, and I've always stuck with metal needles. Once in a while I'll pick this up if I need a size that I don't have free in the metal needles. So for these swatches that I did, I was using the wooden tips, and I really like it because it slides very, very smooth, never had it snag. I love the join as well. I'll unscrew it just to show you, and it's a very, very nice join where after I screw it on, doesn't need a tightener or anything like that, like you do have with even the Chiagu or the Hi-Has or the Knit Picks. It's a very, very smooth join right here. So yeah, I like these needles. They're still nice, and but you know, the smaller sizes have a thinner cord, but the bigger sizes do have a thicker cord. So that's something like the smaller tips require a certain cord, and the bigger tips have a thicker cord. So that's just something. It's not a review of the needle, it's just because I've not seen too many people use these needles, and I thought I would just show you the whole set and, you know, talk a little bit about it. So that was it. So let me tell you about my swatch. So this is a tip that I picked up from another podcast maybe. I'm not sure where, because I've known it for a while now. Is to be able to knit up a certain size, instead of doing a square, is to do a triangle. So I start off with a few stitches and then increase on both sides evenly until you get to a distance or an amount that you are comfortable with for swatching. And then it's easier, and you've come up to that point a lot quicker if you do it this way. The other thing is, because I'm knitting in the round, and I didn't want to magic loop or do it in the round, is to just drag the yarn across, and this I have not done very well on this swatch. You can see it's sort of loose, but ideally you would just drag the yarn across, and then, you know, slide it down to the other end of the needle and start knitting it again. So you are knitting in the round, because your gauge is different when you're knitting in the round as opposed to knitting back and forth with purls on the other side. Yeah, so I'm sure most of you know that, but I thought if there's anybody who's new to knitting, and you know, if it's helpful to somebody, that's great. Okay, so there's that, and that's the swatch I've done. I am just itching to start on this sweater. I'm not done with my Beaumont jumper yet, but that's a slow one because of the cables. It takes a bit, you know, of time. And this yarn is just so much softer. And I might be drawn to knitting on this a lot more than the Beaumont jumper. But one of my goals was to have 3 sweaters done this year. So trying to get there and I thought, okay, it's going to take me ever if I wait till finish the Beaumont jumper to start the next one. So let me have both in the go and see if that'll get me going somehow faster. I don't know how, but you know, we love to cast things on, right? All right, and then the next thing that I am going to be casting on today, and I would have done it in the morning, but today was special services at church for Easter, obviously, and so if we wanted a spot in the parking lot, we had to go a little earlier because it was expected to be crowded. So I didn't really have a lot of time in the morning. But yeah, so this is going to be the new release pattern by Ellie of Craft House Magic, and it is a very, very beautiful and just Easter. It speaks Easter to me, and so I thought that would be nice to have an Easter cast on, just like a Christmas cast on, and it's going to be in this lovely, lovely yarn. I hope you can see that. And it's very, very subtle with specks of like the Easter egg colors, really. And I hope you can see that. And it's from Herbslat, Regina's Etsy shop. I'm sorry, she's not on Etsy anymore. She has her own website, and it is on the Witch Hazel base, which is going to be the first time I tried this base, really. And it's the Speckled Eggs colorway. So it is 100% merino extra fine superwash, and I thought it'll be nice, and I'll put up the pattern on the screen so you can have a look at it. It's a simple pattern with a little bit of lace detail that Ellie calls little paw prints of bunnies. So I thought it was just adorable. I am intrigued by the heel of the sock, and so I do want to find a nice contrast color to go with the heels. And I was thinking of using, I have here, it's a mini skein set by Snail Yarn, and it has lovely colors in there, very nice pastels, really. And I thought this would be a nice heel, toes, and I'm going to be doing a cuff in this as well. Just a tiny stripe on the top, because I saw somebody do socks like that, and I really, really like that touch. So those are going to be my Easter cast on. Alright, and so if you're wondering why that picture is shaking up there, it's because one of my kids just walked in, and I had to have them close the door again. Alright, so just moving on. Yes, that's what's going on my needles today, and I'm going to be casting on two things. One is the Vittori socks, the second of them, and the other is the Buttercup socks. So I hope you have an Easter cast on too. It wasn't really planned, but I think we all like to sit down, you know, after all the chores are done, and after all of the family stuff is done, and then knit. So if you are casting something on today, let me know what it would be, and I'd really like to hear about it. One more thing. So knitting forecasts. I thank you. Oh, so I do have some news to share, as in it's very exciting news for me. Is that I'm going to be an auntie again. I have one younger brother, and they have a 9-month-old. No, 10-month-old, and he's gonna be 1 in May, and we were just told that he's going to have a sibling in September, so very excited. And I have to get knitting. That's the first thing I thought of as soon as I was told. I was like, oh no, I have to find some patterns and knit something. So yes, it's very exciting for me, and I have another cousin who's also having a baby in September, so there are going to be some babies in the fall, and look forward to that. So I had mentioned this in our chatter thread, and some of you ladies had given me suggestions for patterns. Thank you very, very much. And I went ahead and checked it out, and I really, really did like the Milo little Milo vest, I think it's called. It's a very cute pattern, and you should check it out. And so I grabbed the yarn that I knew I wanted to knit. I'm looking for a gray to kind of tone this down a little bit. It's lovely bright green, sort of like a, I don't know what this green is called. Not a highlighter green, although it's coming off very bright on the screen. It's not that bright. It's no, it's not so bright, but it's a very nice refreshing green, like a lime green, I think. And I'm looking for a colorway Oh, it's called Alpha Alpha. There is a colorway. It's by Knit Picks and it's the Brava Sport, and it is sport weight, and it's 100% acrylic, which would make it very wash friendly for mom. And I'm ready to cast it on. Actually, I was ready to cast on this vest last night because I was so excited, but I couldn't find needles that I needed to cast it on that were free. So yes, so I have to sort of wait until one of my shawls are done so I could use up the needle. I believe it needs like a 4mm needle, but it needs a very short cord, and I don't know if I have like a 16-inch cord. I don't know. I couldn't find one in my Knit Picks, and those are the ones with the short cords. I don't know. Oh, maybe my wooden set would have it. I should check it out. I should. But yes, so this is going to be one of my cast-ons too, as soon as I find needles for them, and when I find gray. I wanted to do like a striping with gray and this, just to sort of tone it down a little bit. It is not as bright as coming up on the screen, but it is pretty, like it's a lime green. So that's another thing I have on there as well. All right, and now to come to the most exciting for you guys, which you've been waiting for probably, is to know the winner of the March giveaway. And this is just a giveaway for any of you that are new, for my way of saying thank you for your support, for your you know, comments, your lovely comments, and for joining in both the Ravelry group as well as on YouTube, just sharing your time with me, and being part of my knit night. And so as far as the prize, I mentioned that it would be one of the patterns from your queue that you would want me to gift you. And so I did a random number generator, and I will put it up on the screen. There were 9 entries. Am I saying that right? Yes, there were 9 entries, and I had to eliminate a few of the posts because that was a little bit of a chatter going on, which is fine. And then sort of run the random number generator between 2 and 12, and we have a winner. Congratulations, Sue of Tasmania in Australia. Thank you very, very much for joining in, Sue, and your Ravelry name is BevB333. Congratulations, very excited. And her entry was number 2. So I believe I was reading through all of the different ones, and I really enjoyed reading what your take on March was, or as far as your March makes. And Sue had said that she likes to knit on autumnal colors as they are in fall, and you know, some cozy knits and probably socks. I hope you're enjoying your knitting, Sue, and please do get in touch with me on Ravelry and tell me the pattern that you would like me to gift you. And I hope you enjoy your pattern, and happy knitting. So that is it, folks. I think I've mentioned everything, and it's been a really, really busy 2 weeks for me. I always say that, but the reason I could not podcast last week is not for, you know, wanting to, but because I had dental appointments on Saturday as well as yesterday, the past Saturday, and I am very, very nervous in the dentist chair, to the point where I can't keep still. Like I start to fidget and move and everything. So I have to be I have to get freezing done for dentists to even like do any kind of work, even if it's just the hygienist. I am very, very nervous in the dental office, and have been for a very long time. I think it's just, you know, bad history, that's all. So the last week my mouth was very, very sore, and because I get the injections for the freezing, and when she went into my upper and lower, it was just, I was so sore I could not speak. And so that's why I couldn't podcast last week. And then yesterday it was a little better. It was on the other side, but it was just the 1 instead of 2 or 3 that I usually get. So I'm thankful for the dentist, but I really can't get over it. I don't know why. And so yes, today was a little better, and I was a little unsure as to whether I'd be able to podcast today, but I'm glad I did. So I hope you enjoyed your knitting, and I hope you were able to get something done. Do share with me. I'd love to hear your comments, and yes, let me know what you're knitting on. And thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, a lovely April. It doesn't feel very spring-like today because it's sort of gloomy and it's a little cold, but we've been having some good weather, so I shouldn't complain. And yes, I hope spring greets you well in the northern hemisphere, and that you are enjoying your fall, I believe, in the southern. So thanks again for joining me today, and until the next time, happy knitting. Bye-bye.